Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tea and Timbits. I am Andy, coming to you from the United Kingdom again.
Hello, everybody. I am your other host, Scott, and I am still in Toronto.
That's fantastic. This podcast is about global perspectives on business development to help you prosper. And this week, we are going to be talking about helping a client to qualify you, which is an interesting topic. I'm looking forward to finding out what Scott meant when he wrote that down. But before we get into that, Scott, do you have a story for us this week?
Oh, it's my turn, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was recently facilitating a workshop. We were doing a strategic planning exercise on e-commerce. And it was run through the Toronto Board of Trade here. And so these were sort of a variety of different clients, from startups to larger, mid-sized, more established clients. And we introduced the workshop. I was circulating around the room, and I went over to talk to somebody who was trying their hardest to follow the template and the structure that that I had provided. And they were just kind of really stuck. And so I sort of put the template aside and I said, tell me a little bit more about your business. Anyway, they were a sole proprietor, and they were a bit of a crafts person, and they were into textiles and clothing and manufacturing some of their own stuff as well. And the way that they sold was going to different festivals and shows and community events and whatnot, and building up a presence there, and physically talking to the people and getting specific about the fabric that they wanted and all that kind of stuff. And I said, boy, it seems to me like you do not need an e-commerce site. And when I said that to them, they just, like, this light bulb, they had this moment. They were like, wow, I never even thought about not doing it. And I said, you need brand presence. You need social media presence. You need digital to support what you're doing. But you showed up here because somebody told you need an e-commerce site, or you thought you needed e-commerce because you had to be online or something. And she interrupted me and said, you're absolutely right. I said, well, I'm here to tell you, as the guy leading the e-commerce workshop, you're probably in the wrong room. I said, just keep, you might get to that point eventually, but focus on what you're doing really well and put more into your brand and your marketing and doing what you're doing really well. And then when you're ready to scale up and use some of these, shopping tools, you'll know when that time's ready. And she was like, I'd lightened her load by 1,000 tons at that point. So thought I'd share it for whatever perspective that's worth. You don't always have to be doing what the latest trend is or what you think you're supposed to be doing. So there you go.
No, but it's also very important to make sure that if you see that in someone's business life or personal life, for that matter, that they are in the wrong lane, that you give them a helping hand to get them back on track.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I like it. Very good. So, Scott, tell me, what are we talking about today?
So this is helping the client qualify you, and it's a bit of a mutual conversation, but I find that a lot of times when you go into these conversations, you have an opportunity to make it more efficient for both parties, and by doing that, I think it actually increases your likelihood of success. So I can get into it more, and that's what I will do. But that's what the conversation is about, is just what can be done. And in the context of an account-based selling approach, which is what we said we were going to talk about in September, I think it applies particularly well. And so I hope that, coming out of this conversation, people can reflect on what they can do in the way that they are engaging with some of those opportunities to streamline that evaluation and qualification process.
How do you do that in your business?
Yeah. So
you knew that was coming.
Yeah. So in our business, there are two things that we want to establish, like, before we even get into establishing budget and making sure the economics and investment is aligned. But do we actually do something? Do we actually have a product or a service that fits the problem, the challenge, the opportunity that the client has? but do we, and then the second part of it is, do we deliver that in a way that's congruent with the client, with the prospect?
Okay. Yeah.
And so I think it's the second part of that that I had in mind when I suggested this topic, because it is, I would say just about, if not more critical, to make sure that there's process and cultural alignment between us and a client than financial alignment. So we really want the client to know how we do what we do,
Mm.
in detail, in depth, so that the client can go, wait a minute, is that going to fit into my missing puzzle piece? Or is the way that they do that going to ruffle feathers, or are we going to be struggling the whole time to get along, basically?
Yeah, no, that's a really important factor that you mentioned there as well, is that it can't just be that the company who's trying to sell something is is reaching out and saying, oh, well, do they fit in this particular model that we've decided that is our ideal customer. Most companies have an ideal supplier, as well.
Yeah.
And they have, well, this supplier must be based in this region, must have these type of things, must be able to deliver this type of project. Yeah. And again, we all know that our customers have access to the internet just like we do, and they're able to do research about who you are, what type of company you are, and so make sure that you are representing yourself both individually and as a company in a way that you want your customers to learn about you, not just to promote your own products, but about how they can understand what it's like to work with you.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all about, is this process alignment. Because if you don't provide that framework, then the prospect is going to fill in the blanks.
Exactly.
And you're not going to be aware of that.
Yeah.
They're going to have an expectation of how this engagement is going to work, and what they've done before, or the last time they worked with somebody like you, or they would have done their own due diligence and talked to somebody who knows somebody who said, well, you should ask these kinds of questions and the project should be set up this way. And maybe it's pretty close to the way that we do things, but I can guarantee you it's not going to be identical. And so then if I don't go through that exercise to make sure I'm giving that information away, and resetting or establishing that understanding, then they might be very excited to buy from me what I deliver, because they've seen how successful it was for somebody else or whatever. I sell them the benefit of the thing, and then we go through the process, and we're like, it's like oil and water. So part of it is, one, making sure that your thing or your service does satisfy the need, and you're not just trying to sell them on this is old school stuff, right? Like the features and benefits, but
selling you those things are still relevant. Those things are still relevant. It's just about how you package it and how you put it forward, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So not just showing them your feature list and your capabilities, but okay, I have these things, but let's just also make sure that we can pull the right pieces off the shelf and apply them to your situation, and go through at a discrete, level. If we did this, how well would it be received? If we took this step, who would be involved? We want to be able to deliver this. Do you think it's relevant? There's a lot of steps in the kind of work that we do that people don't see any value in, or they've already actually figured out and they can just communicate that, and we don't have to go through the discovery exercise to uncover it, that kind of thing. And just by having that transparency and clarity, we will also uncover some things that they really need to do XYZ, and we're like, whoa, wait a minute, that's not even in this sphere of services. But in their mind, it should be, or was from some other vendor that had a more diverse service base or something like that. I don't know. So yes, it's about the product alignment, and it's about the service alignment, and I think it comes down to intention here, right? So
yes, exactly. Yeah.
No,
that's right. And I think ultimately it's having that partnership mindset, though, isn't it? It's creating an environment where if someone wants to work with you, you make it so that they can, so that it isn't a an us and them relationship. It's a us relationship.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think an important part of this concept of helping the client qualify you, is you also get to say, and by the way, we are qualifying the opportunity for ourselves as well. Like, we want to know if this is a legitimate thing that we can solve, and we're qualifying the client, but we want the client to also be evaluating us. And if you set up that expectation from the get-go, that's the part that I think leads more likely success than otherwise.
Yeah.
It's like there's it's a genuine sort of, it's not a scarcity sort of game, but you're definitely saying, I'm particular about who we work for, and I'm not trying to be too choosy here, but I am only going to get involved in opportunities that are the right ones for each of us. And you might desperately need what we can do, but and I don't say it that way, but you get the idea. But if it's not gonna fit with our process, then it's not worth proceeding together, and vice versa. I want you, because you know more about the way that you work, so I'm going to tell you as much as I can about how we do what we do. Please take that internally and don't just evaluate it for what is getting delivered.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that that's particularly important in an account-based approach to selling services and products.
Couldn't agree more. I was trying to think of what more I could add to you, but
we can leave it there. A nice, great little episode, short conversation. I think it doesn't need any more explanation than that.
No, it's a key thing that hopefully people will go away from, is the importance of making sure that the way you are representing yourself, the way that you are going out to the market, and your intentions when you're going out to market is important, because people are going to be looking at you, they are going to be judging you, and they are going to be qualifying you. So help them to do it in the right way. And
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Scott. That was a short but interesting episode, and I'm very happy to have covered that topic. I was a little bit scared when I didn't realize what we were going to be talking about, but you helped me along the way there. If you want to get in touch with us and suggest any future complicated topics for me to figure out, then do so by going to tandtimbits.com, and you can find multiple ways to get in touch with us there, and many ways to subscribe to our podcast and listen to past and future episodes. Thank you, Scott.
All right. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everybody.